Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to the Temple of Light at Ananda Village. I would like to start today with a poem from the book Songs of the Soul by Paramhansa Yogananda, which, by the way, is being reprinted. We will have the book available by crystal clarity at the end of the year. But this poem in particular caught my heart because it's such a message of endurance for all devotees, and I would like to share it with you. The poem is called Soul is Marching On. The shining stars are sunk in darkness. The weary sun is dead at night. The moon's soft smile doth fade anon, but still my soul is marching on. The grinding wheel of time has crashed full many a life of moon and stars, and many a brightly smiling morn, but still my soul is marching on. The flowers bloom, then hid in gloom. The bounty of trees did cease. Colossal men have come and gone, but still my soul is marching on. The eons one by one are flying. The arrows one by one are lost. Dimly, slowly life is fading, but still my soul is marching on. Darkness, death, and failures vied. To block my path they firstly tried. My flight with jealous nature strong, but still my soul is marching on. There is a phrase that we hear again and again every week in this Sunday service, which I think it encapsulates the key for self-realization. And if there is one thing that we should remember, will be this: truth is one and eternal. Realize it in your deathless self within. And that could be the talk for today. But it is important to understand that truth is not a democratic vote. It hasn't been created. Truth, it is creation itself. It is. And we need to learn it and accept it and work with it and flow with it. When I was a kid, I had an interesting, fun situation. At some point during the year, I noticed that everyone was starting to wear coats and thick clothes. And I thought that they just got into a meeting and they decided, let's change our wardrobe and start wearing coats. And I couldn't understand that. And this rebellious kid inside of me said, I'm not going to do it, the same like everyone do. So even though my mom will give me the coat, I won't use it, and I will stubbornly use my short sleeves. But pretty soon I understood that it was cold. And I really needed a coat. So it didn't matter that I wanted summer to be longer. It didn't matter that me and my friends will get together and wanted summer to be longer. The reality was what it was, and I needed to work with it. Now that's an innocent story, but how about God? How about the truth of God? We cannot mold it to our wishes. We need to tune with it. We need to work with it. And we need to expand ourselves until we become one with that reality. So I would like to explore this phrase, the truth is one and eternal, because it has a lot of keys, a lot of meaning that we can find inspiration in our path towards God. So when we say the truth is one, it doesn't matter where or when, truth is still the same. And it may take a lot of different shapes and forms, probably as many as people or souls alive. But the reality is that the goal is one and it's the same for everyone, which is merging back in God. There is a story that tells that it was these three men, simple, very holy men in an island. And what they were doing all the time is a very simple prayer. We are three, thou art three. Have mercy on us, thank you. even the simple prayer sometimes is difficult to remember. We are three, thou art three, have mercy upon us. And when the bishop of the area heard about that prayer, he got a little bit upset and ran into that island or in a boat and to teach them the proper way to pray. And when he did his job, he was with the boat back to the main land. He saw a light approaching towards him, and he realized that it was the three saintly men running over the sea. And when they arrived next to his side, they asked him, Bishop, sorry, we forgot the prayer. Can you teach us again? And the bishop said, well, doesn't matter. Keep doing what you are doing. So the appearances, what is outside, that change, and it doesn't matter, it's not that important, but what it is important is the truth behind what we do, the truth behind those appearances. And it's our job to realize that one reality. And this is about what these three saintly men, what all of us we are trying to do is to practice Sanatan Dharma, which is that eternal truth that doesn't change on time. It's still the same on eons in time and space. And that eternal religion, that eternal truth is all about gathering the energy and bringing it up for self-realization to transcend ego limitations. So it doesn't matter the place, it doesn't matter the religion, it doesn't matter our beliefs. That truth, it applies to everyone and everywhere. Also the truth is one, but also is eternal. It stays in time and it's changeless. It may change the expression, and that's why many saints and many true masters have been coming again and again over time and in different countries and maybe religions. It's just to communicate the message in a way that will touch the people's heart of that time and space. The problem is that many times we relate just on the surface and then we compare and we think that one is better than the other, but we understand, if we go deeper, that all of them are talking about the same. There is, on the other hand, there is the man-made laws. And these are the ones that get a little bit more in trouble, because when men make those laws, they are subject to change. They are subject to the level of consciousness of people involved on creating this law. There is another story that tells about this man who, his father just died, and he was performing a sacred ritual. So when he was ready in the prayer room, a dog came into the room. And he just tried to take him out and tie the dog into a pole and continue with the ceremony. So years passed, and this man died. So his son now was going to perform that ritual. And he remembered, my father had a dog, and he tied the dog in the pole. So he wanted to have it right. But he didn't have a dog, so he went to the neighbor, got a dog, and very carefully, as he was tying the dog on the pole, he was practicing the prayers very carefully. So generations passed. And for this family, the dog ritual was the main part of that ceremony. So we need to be aware that we don't want to get caught in what it changes. The world, the body, the tendencies of the trends of the outside. We need to understand and live in that eternal reality that it doesn't matter where or when, that stays true all the time. Now, truth is one, eternal, and we need to realize. And this is an invitation for a call to action, an invitation to for self-effort, to be open, to be receptive, and to be sincere. the truth cannot be voted, it needs to be perceived from inside. And it needs our effort into putting out that energy so we can then receive from God. To our efforts, God will add its own. There is a joke of a little, it was Sunday school, and the teacher was talking about creation. And to the question, who will say, who can tell me, who gave the seed the power to become a flower? And one little girl said, teacher, this is God, but fertilizer helps. So we need to add our fertilizer for that seed to grow, because the potential is there, but it's through our effort, through our continuity, as we said, our soul is marching on, though difficulties, though things may seem to disappear, to vanish, to be difficult, we need to keep going on. And into that effort, God will add its own. And Swami Devi wrote a blog recently talking about the difference between tension and intention. And this is a key thought on putting intention into everything we do. This is going to be a fertilizer, because with intention, we can find the strength, the motivation, the willingness to do what is needed to do. But not only that, with intention, we unlock the flow of grace, the flow of God to flow through us. So in that way, we will be able to find the strength and to find answers into whatever we do in life. And our job is to lift the veil of delusion, and for this we need to change, to put the effort in changing. And truth doesn't change, but we need to change. And it's in that incessant transformation that it will come the time that we don't need to change anymore, because we will become one with God, with that eternal truth. Now, Swami Dhyana often says, God, I will do whatever you ask me to do, but give me the strength. So yes, sometimes it's not easy, but we need to pray. We need to bring the presence of God, of the divine, and even in those moments of difficulties or darkness, to open even more to receive that guidance. So we need to realize truth in oneness with it. It means that when we are in oneness with that truth, things flow. We flow. There is not resistance. Everything becomes just as a perfect unity. A very inspiring thought is about the choir. When all the voices harmonize themselves and it becomes one big voice, that's a magical moment. It creates one entity much bigger than the parts. And this is what we need to try in life, to harmonize ourselves with the willingness of God, with what is trying to happen with that truth. But now think about the choir, a big one like we have in Spiritual Renewal Week, maybe 80, 100 people, each one chanting their notes. That's not going to be that unified. And when we do that, when we try to get our way, or likes and dislikes are strong enough that we are starting to not be in tune with that truth. And then we start suffering. And then the chaos starts. So finding that oneness is going to give us a lot of grace. And this reminds me about many friends, and some of you are here today, and many probably watching online, that a few of you have been going, and this has been so inspiring. Several people, several friends have been going, or they are going through big physical challenges. And some of them life-threatening, and actually some of these friends already left the body. But what has been, and it has been so inspiring, is to see all these friends just embracing the situation. And when in that embracement, they become one with God. They become one with God's will. And they don't know what is going to happen. But in that acceptance, they open their heart and their lives to that will. And by receiving God's will, the strength comes, the inspiration, the grace. Many times the person going through the challenges gets stronger than the people around them. And they are the ones consoling and giving energy to the people around. I find that so inspiring, that they're not caught by those circumstances. And it's flowing with God's will. Yogananda, in his poem Samadhi, there is a phrase that he says, "Thou art I art thou, knowing, knower, known, as one." And in that oneness, all the identifications, all the attachments, all the manifestations of human limitations disappear. It's that oneness that we realize that everything is Supreme Spirit. Everything is a manifestation and a reality of that Spirit. So there is also here an invitation in realizing oneness with truth, and is to aim to be in that state in which we do everything with God. But beyond that, we see God in everything, in everyone, until we realize that God is everything. And in that state, we ourselves understand that we are one with God, our body, our consciousness. We realize oneness with it in our deathless self. And this is interesting because we don't realize it through our minds, we don't realize it through our egos. Those are very limited. And the ego always wants the easy path. And when challenges come, and they come, it tries to avoid them. But then we have also the other part, which is the mind. And the mind is so smart that will find justifications for everything that the ego wants to do. So this pair, they are helpful when analyzing situations, but we need to go beyond that, because what they are lacking is that depth, the perception, the depth that the soul is able to perceive. So when realizing that oneness on our deathless self, we need to go way beyond the mind. The mind is analytical, and it's very good on pondering pros and cons, but also it gets confused. And it was a moment in life that I was going through a situation that my mind was very active. I was really pondering all the pros and cons. But it was important enough of situation that I needed guidance. So I went to Swami Kriyananda for that clarity. And it was very interesting to see that as soon as I stepped into the room where he was, all questions disappeared. Everything was just perfectly fine. So much so that he asked me, "Okay, what do you want to ask me?" And I said, "Oh, nothing, Swami, everything is just fine." So I felt embarrassed because someone said, "No, didn't you have this question?" I said, "Oh, yes." But the thing is that by being surrounded by someone or a group of people or a situation where consciousness is high, we are able to raise our consciousness as well, and the problems in that realm does not exist. So we need to try to lift our consciousness beyond what the mind can grasp. So in that state where our soul connects with that truth, we will find the solutions to any problem that may appear. There is a beautiful saying of Santa Teresa of Avila that she says, "When in the ecstatic state of the soul, in an instant can grasp much more truth that the mind of years of painstaking knowledge or learning." So by stillness, by meditation, by trying to still ourselves and connecting with that truth within, we will be able to perceive that truth, that permeates everything. Now, when we realize oneness with it in our deathless self within, and this is another very important part, because we cannot find truth outside. We cannot find truth in what other people say. There is a beautiful book. The title in English, I think, is Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And this is a beautiful story of a seagull that he knew that flying higher and faster was possible. So when he came back to his flock, he was telling the news, and no one understood him, no one believed him. So day by day, he would continue to fly higher and faster, and the rest of the seagulls will stay just on the shore, just peeking into the fish, and just being content with a simple life. But Jonathan Livingston kept trying and trying, and even though difficulties will come and no one will understand him, inside, within, he knew, because of experience, that a higher life was possible. So we need to aim for that state, because everything in the world is set up for being comfortable, to lower energy, but we need to rise our consciousness and follow that instinct inside, the song of our soul that says, keep marching on. And every year we have this event in the Crystal Hermitage here at Ananda Village, the springtime at Ananda, and we plant thousands of tulips, and thousands of people come to visit these gardens. It is so inspiring to see people coming, and then after a time enjoying the gardens, how they live. Their face, their gesture is so uplifted. You can feel the joy in their hearts. And it was a few years ago that I was serving in the Moksha Mandir, which is where the body of Swami Kriyananda is resting. And a family caught my attention because, especially the two kids, that they were around 10 years old, they were coming and going all the time. They would come inside the mandir, stay for a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, and leave. They will come back, stay for 10 minutes and leave. And that happened again and again in the span of maybe 2 hours they were around. But the most enjoyment that I felt with that is seeing their faces again. It was such a joy that I needed to ask them, are you enjoying coming here? And she stopped and looked at me and said, I cannot have enough. This was a kid of 10 years old. And what she was, I don't know if she was aware of what was happening there, of the sacredness of that space, but her soul was open enough to feel that joy, to feel those blessings. And this is an invitation to all of us to turn down this and to turn up this, to receive the presence of God, because that message, that joy is always there. And to the question, how democratic is truth? At this point we can say probably none at all, because truth is. It is a reality. It is creation itself. And we cannot mold truth to our wishes. We need to learn and to adapt and work with what it is. And the world is changing constantly, and what it changes, we can tell right away that that's not truth. It may be a manifestation, but it is important for us to tune into what is behind it, into what is constant, into what it feeds our soul. So, friends, let's aim for that state, as I was saying earlier, that we see God in everything until we see that God is everything.
Lord, may we serve you all our days, ever rejoice to sing your praise, as we together your wisdom seek. Charge us with truth whene'er we speak. Lord, may we ever know your to us well.